Hello, Internet. It's been a while. Like, a long while. Based on my calculations, it's been a good, I'd say, 5 months or so since I've uploaded anything. And given that my last upload was effectively me having a meltdown, I figured, hey, maybe now I should actually tell the full story of where the hell I've been these past few months. I've made it no secret that I was working a 9 to 5 job. It was a customer service position with a company that had to go through some government red tape. I'm not going to go into exact detail because they don't pay me to promote the company, but like any other customer service position, it carries a lot of those same idiosyncrasies that you would come to expect. Now, between balancing making the high quality videos that I like to make, particularly in the case of the Resident Evil Monster Clash episodes of From the Shelf, basically those videos where I do a deep dive, balancing that between the rigors and stressors of a 9 to 5 customer service position, naturally push began to come to shove around February and March when I once again tried and failed to do Martial March. It got so bad that my performance at my day job started to suffer, and my bosses took notice. So much so they pulled me aside and said, hey, you've been kind of slacking off these past few months. Fix this. And while it wasn't in an aggressive tone, it basically made all of the alarm bells in my brain go off all at once. What a lot of people may not understand, particularly the older generation that flushed our economy down the toilet, is that when you were a kid, growing up during the time of the recession, granted, I was in high school, but I was a chip kid. My family, we survived off food stamps for a while when growing up. Basically, my family has never exactly been rich, so when the economy is going down the tubes, when the job market is not doing too well, it instills in you this sense of desperation where you just have to get a job just to pay the bills, even if it's a job that you don't particularly enjoy. And as such, when you have that mentality of desperation rattling around in your head, it leads to what I would call this feeling of learned helplessness. For those of you who don't know, learned helplessness is usually mentioned in the context of mental, emotional, and sexual abuse, abusive relationships, and even sexual assault. This idea that through circumstance, through a lot of different factors, a person learns this feeling that they have no control over their lives, that there's nothing they can do to escape their current circumstances, so they just basically shut down and just let whatever is happening to them happen to them. And while I acknowledge that that's probably an extreme way to describe where my mental state was while working this 9 to 5 job, I honestly can't think of any other way to explain it. I was desperate to have money coming in, and so when I was warned about my work performance, I basically figured, well, YouTube is not doing me any favors, so I'm just gonna give up on the YouTube channel, throw all of the energy into my day job so that way I can make sure that I don't get fired. But here's what happened next. With all of the energy that I had being devoted to a day job that I just did not like, did not enjoy, it led to this really destructive routine of getting up in the morning, go to work, come home from work, spend the evening either watching YouTube videos without really being mindful about what I'm watching, just putting it on for the sake of background noise and just zoning out. And I hate that. I hate when I do that, and I hated it as it was happening. And naturally, this then led to another kind of after effect where I was falling back on a lot of old habits that I've been trying to break for the sake of my mental health. A lot of really negative coping mechanisms that I had learned for myself. I was having nightmares about going into work, and I would literally wake up angry because of some of the crap I've had to deal with this customer service position. And in addition to all of the anxiety, it started to manifest as physiological symptoms. So headaches, tense muscles, wrist pain from typing on a keyboard the whole day. And it just was getting to a point where I just was not feeling good. And the moment that made me decide that enough was that during a particularly harrowing day, both of my hands suddenly went numb. Fortunately, my younger sibling is a registered EMT, so she gave me the full once-over to determine whether or not I was having a heart attack or a stroke. But the fact that both of my hands went numb, and that as someone who has been trying to lose weight, trying to get their health back on track, it was very much one of those cases of, okay, if this job gives me a heart attack, it's not worth the paycheck. And so, I did the only sensible thing I could do. For the sake of my health, I put in my 2 weeks notice, and as of Tuesday of this week at time of recording, I have left this day job. It was a good company to work for. I just had to acknowledge that I wasn't the right fit for the job, and I was not performing the duties that were expected of me, and so rather than continuing to flounder and eventually getting canned, I just decided, hey, I'm going to bow out and look for something that's a little bit more fulfilling. And so I am once again unemployed. So what does that mean for you, the viewer? Does it mean I'm going to start cranking out video after video after video like a machine? Probably not. I still have a number of long-term goals that I want to work towards. I mean, for example, there's that novel that I keep mentioning that I'm writing that I actually want to sit down and finish and hopefully get published. On top of that, I want to make sure that I do find another job, one that's also stable, but is more in line with my long-term goals of eventually starting my own production company, which is why this channel is called Studio Ghost. However, since things are going to be a little unstable for a while, I've decided to set up a Patreon. For those of you who don't know, Patreon is a website that allows you to financially support the creators of the content you love, whether it's videos on YouTube, comics, illustrations, what have you. A number of artists have been using the platform, especially artists who aren't exactly in YouTube's good graces. Now, I want to make one thing clear. Yes, I'm setting up this Patreon, but that doesn't mean I'm going to be treating making online videos as my day job. This is just something to keep me going while I look for another job, just so that way I can keep myself afloat for a while. On top of that, while a lot of artists tend to have you pledge per month, the way I've set up my Patreon is that if you pledge even as little as $1, you only pay that dollar when I actually produce a video. So it's per video as opposed to per month. The reason I chose this is because, given how sporadic my upload schedule is already, I didn't want to run into the issue where I have a lot of money coming in month to month and then I end up producing nothing, because that would be a bad habit, and naturally I wouldn't want to fall into that sense of, oh, I'm lazy, I'm getting paid to do nothing, and that would be doing a disservice to you, the viewer, that would choose to financially support my videos. So, naturally, this is the best way all around. In order for me to get the money, I actually have to produce the video that you're financing, and likewise, you only pay the money when I actually produce something for you to watch. So, it's a win-win. Now, I know what you're probably thinking, but Romney, if you do something like Martial March or any other videos where you're making a video every single day, that's gonna clear me out. Well, firstly, Patreon allows you to set a monthly cap for the number of videos you're willing to pledge for, so if you want to pledge $5 per video, you can set that cap to either just 1 video a month, 3 videos a month. It's something I highly recommend you do for any creator that does the per video basis. But here's another thing I want you to consider. The videos that you're paying for aren't going to be just random vlogs like this. They're not going to be the random daily video projects that I set for myself. The videos that you would be sponsoring would be specifically videos like Monster Clash and From the Shelf, and to a lesser extent, Rhapsody in Cinema, although I'm still debating whether or not to include that, since that's technically a podcast and not a video. But that's something that we'll discuss later on. The point being is that by pledging to my Patreon, you are only paying for the high quality videos, the ones that I actually take a great deal of time to produce, that I actually give my all. I mean, if you've seen my Resident Evil video, you know how long it took to get those effects and everything to line up just right. That's the kind of content you can expect by pledging to my Patreon. That is the kind of video that the money from this Patreon would be going to finance. Now, if you're someone who doesn't necessarily have a stable source of income, don't feel pressured to pledge to it if you can't afford it. Because again, I'm unemployed, I don't have any money coming in, I understand where you're coming from. So even if you're not able to pledge any money, just letting people know about my videos, sharing them on social media, just word of mouth, just letting people know that, hey, this is a channel you should check out, I would appreciate that immensely. And granted, I've been getting a lot of new subscribers thanks in large part to platforms like Geek News Reviews and Opinions. So if there's a video that I've produced that you think people should check out, share it around, let people know I exist, and yeah, that would be greatly appreciated and would help out immensely. So that's pretty much the plan for the channel for now. It's not a permanent thing, it's just a case of, hey, this is something to do to keep me going, and something to incentivize me to actually produce the high quality videos that I like to produce. And so that is pretty much all I have to say about that. And yeah, I don't really have anything else to add, so instead of continuing to ramble, I better get to work producing the next major video. So If you've watched this far, thank you for watching. I'll see you all next time.